Okay, we are on page 32. So we're going to review adding and subtracting decimals for a minute. We are not going to do a lesson on that. You've been doing this for many years. So when you add or subtract decimals, you have to line up the decimals, all right? Only on adding and subtracting. So if I were to add these, I would have to line up the decimal because I'm adding. So that's just a little review. Oh my goodness, yes, okay. Second guess myself for a minute. So on this one, we're gonna multiply decimals, all right? So when multiplying decimals, we do not have to line up the decimals. You can ignore the decimal and multiply the numbers as whole numbers, all right? It just makes your work a lot easier. Then you put the decimal back in the answer by counting the places to the right of the decimal in the original numbers. All right, so for example, 3 2/10 times 1 99/100. We're going to go ahead and estimate just to kind of see if our decimal is reasonable. So this is a little bit more than 2. If we think of this as money, $1.99 is almost $2. So 3 times 2, our estimate is going to be 6. So we're going to treat these as whole numbers. So if there was no decimal, that's going to be a 32. That's going to be 199. And then we're going to multiply. And then we're going to go ahead and put the decimal back in the answer after we're finished. So when I multiply, I like to have the one with more digits on top. It's just more comfortable. It's how we learn. So we're going to keep it that way. So 9 times 2 is going to be 18. 9 times 2, 18, plus 1 is 19. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So then we're done with 2. We're going to put our placeholder, our 0. And I just put a slash through it to remind myself that it's a placeholder and not something that I've multiplied and got a 0. So 3 times 9 is 27. 3 times 9 is 27, plus 2 is 29. And then 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So if I add these all together, I get this. And so we're going to go back and we are going to count the places to the right of the decimal. So we have 1, 2, 3 places to the right of the decimal total. We had 1 here and we had 2 here, so that's a total of 3. So if we have 3 decimal places to the right of the decimal, we're going to put 1, 2, 3 decimal places to the right of the decimal in our answer. So that's 6 and 368 thousandths. If it were money, it's not, but if it were, that's $6.36. And what a cash register would do, that 8 is big enough to round that up to 37 cents. But since we are not talking about money, we're going to go ahead and leave it exactly like that. So we're going to count the places to the right of the decimal, and then we put our decimal back into our answer. So we have 82. All right, so this is a whole number times, this is a little bit less than 1. So 82 times 1 is 82. So I know that my answer is going to be less than 82. Okay, it might be not a whole lot less than 82, but we know it's not going to be exactly 82. So we're going to ignore our numbers and we're just going to say ignore my decimal. And we're going to say 82 times 86. So go ahead and pause the video. Use your blue sheet if you need to, but go ahead and multiply it out, put your decimal back, and then check it with me. Two places after the decimal. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and put 2 places after the decimal. So was it less than 82? Yes. But if I accidentally put my decimal here, that would have been 7. That would have been a little too small if I was just supposed to be a little less than 82. All right, next page. We're going to ignore the decimals and just treat these as whole numbers. So I'm just going to say 4 and 6. I'm going to get rid of all those extra zeros. So 4 times 6 is going to be 24. And then I'm going to count the places to the right of the decimal. So I've got 1, 2, 3 total. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. There's my decimal. So I've got to have 3 places. So there's going to be a 0 right here. And then we always put just a 0 as showing that there's no whole number right there. Okay, so my answer is actually 24 thousandths. All right, so what happens is when you are multiplying decimals, and we'll talk about this with fractions, when you multiply something less than 1 by something less than 1, you're taking a little piece of a little piece, so your piece is gonna get smaller. Okay, so if we were to turn this into fractions and just kind of think about what's happening, remember of means to multiply. I'm taking 4/10, so not even half of this, which is like 6 cents. So I'm taking a piece of 6 cents, and that's going to be my answer, which, if it were money, would be 2 cents. So it's going to be getting smaller sometimes if both of these are less than 1. So on this one, we ignore the decimals and just write them as whole numbers. Okay, so go ahead and pause this, do your work, and then put the decimal back in. And then you can hit play and check it with me. Okay, so we have 2 places to the right of the decimal. So we have 2 places to the right of the decimal. Okay, so if it were money, I would write it just like this. Okay, that's one way to write it. Another way, if we're not talking about money, is to get rid of any extra zeros. So that right there would be actually the same exact number as far as the value of it. So you could write it like this, or you could write it like this, same value. All right, go ahead and pause the video and do the next 2, and then unpause it to check yourself. So we've got 4 after the decimal there. 1, 2, 3, 4 places after the decimal. So 1, 2, 3, 4 places after the decimal. And we'll put zeros in those empty spots. And then a placeholder here. So that's going to be 45 10 thousandths. So that got pretty small. We took a little bitty piece of a little bitty piece, so it got smaller. On this one, I wanted to talk about hanging your zeros off. You know, I know she showed you this last year, but it's going to save you a lot of work if you can hang your 0 off, and all you do is this, and now you're just doing 399 times 9. Okay, so I want you to start practicing that if you ever have a number that has a 0 on the end of it. So this is going to be 81. We've got 81 plus 8 is going to be 89. That's 27. Plus 8 is going to be 35, and then we have 1, 2, none here, so we're going to have 1, 2 places after the decimal. So again, we can write it like this, or we can write it to look like money. Either one is the same value.